We will pay tribute to all soldiers and civilians in war. The soldiers that fought on all sides served on the day when the guns fell silent. The armistice was signed between the Allies of World War I and Germany at Compiègne, France, for the cessation of hostilities on the Western Front of World War I, which took effect at 11 o'clock in the morning, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. A total of World War I casualties was 16,563,868 military and civilians deaths in that conflict, and many ancient empires fell that day and left 21,228,813 wounded. The last living veteran in World War I from 28 July 1914 to 11 November 1918 was Florence Green, a British citizen who served in the Allied forces, armed forces, and who died on February 4th, 2012 at the age of 110. In 1938, Congress declared Armistice Day a national holiday to be dedicated to the cause of world peace. It was a day set aside to honor veterans of World War I and to remind Americans of the tragedies of war. In 1954, World War II resulted in the greatest mobilization of U.S. troops in history, and Congress amended the Act of 1938 by striking out the word armistice and inserting the word veterans. After World War II came Korea and Vietnam, and today there are many Americans, if you mention Armistice Day, will say, "What's that?" As we enter the 12th year of the 13th year, 14th year, 15th year of the longest war in U.S. history, VFP is dedicated to honoring the original purpose of this holiday. The VFP main objective is we are to abolish war as an instrument of national policy. Together we can build a culture of peace. We shall follow the protocol of King George, King of the United Kingdom, who on 7 November 1919 proclaimed that at the hour when the armistice came into force, the 11th hour, 11th day, the 11th month, there may be for a brief space of 2 minutes a complete suspension of our normal activities so that in perfect stillness the thoughts of everyone may be concentrated on reverent remembrance of the glorious dead. At the 2008 VFP Convention, Veterans for Peace, members voted to officially recognize the original name of Armistice Day. At Veterans for Peace, we are dedicated to building a culture of peace within all communities, recognizing the symbolic holiday as was once designated is one small way that we can begin to shift our pro-war culture within this country. And next we have a person that's going to recite some prose from Kurt Vonnegut. Want to come up here?
I'll trade you.
I'll trade you.
The following excerpt is from Kurt Vonnegut's novel, Breakfast of Champions. I will come to a time in my backwards trip when November 11th, accidentally my birthday, was a sacred day called Armistice Day. When I was a boy and when Dwayne Hoover was a boy, all the people of all the nations which had fought the First World War were silent during the 11th minute, 11th hour of Armistice Day, which is the 11th day of the 11th month. It was during that minute in 1918 that millions and millions upon human beings stopped butchering one another. I've talked to old men who were on battlefields during that minute. They've told me in one way or another that the sudden silence was the voice of God. So we still have among us some men who can remember when God spoke clearly to mankind. Armistice Day has become Veterans Day. Armistice Day was sacred. Veterans Day is not. So I will throw Veterans Day over my shoulder. Armistice Day I will keep. I don't want to throw away any sacred things. What else is sacred? Oh, Romeo and Juliet, for instance, and all the music is.
Next we'll have a poem, here we go, by Winfred Owens, a World War I soldier. He was an officer who was killed a year before the war ended.
This is called Dulce et Decorum Est, which translated is How Sweet and Right It Is to Die for One's Country, by Wilfred Owen. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through the sludge till on the haunting flares we turned our backs and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of tired, outstripped 5-9s that dropped behind. Gas, gas, quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil's sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gurgling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie, dulce et decorum est pro patria mori, which translated means, how sweet it is to die for one's country.
Next, we have a poem by a minister, Canadian minister, that became the symbol of war of the veterans was the poppy, and this is a poem by that man. You can say his name. Got it there. You want to read that?
It is perhaps the most evocative of all poems to have come from the Western Front, written by Canadian John McCrae in Flanders Fields, has become one of the most popular and oft-quoted works from the conflict, and its reference to poppies helped ensure the flowers became the symbol of remembrance for the war's dead. In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Thank you, thank you. And next we're going to World War II, which was the largest conflict that this country was in and the world was involved with. A poem from World War II.
The Death of the Ball Turret Gunner by Randall Jarrell. From my mother's sleep I fell into the state, and I hunched in its belly till my wet fur froze. 6 miles from Earth, loosed from its dream of life, I woke to black flak and the nightmare fighters. When I died, they washed me out of the turret with a hose. The speaker in this 1945 poem is a ball turret gunner who has died. We know almost nothing about him. The gunner is speaking to us mostly in a flat tone, but occasionally with terse lyricism about his death. Since he is dead, the speech is disembodied. It is evidently the gunner's voice as imagined by the poet.
And we have a bill in Congress I just wanted to pass on that is asking to reverse the unilateral actions that the United States presidents could have. It was passed in 2001. And the bill number is 4608, and you can look it online. And we have a petition that people could get on and check it out. Anyway, I have some music here we could get together and sing a song called Imagine by John Lennon.
You notice that all these pro-Democrat people on like MSNBC, CNN, etc., they are not mentioning the $5.5 billion that Obama's asked Congress for his war on Syria and Iraq. Also, 1,500 soldiers, but they never mention his war on Iraq and Syria. The new war for America. They don't mention it.
Well, since somebody handed me the mic, I'm going to have to say I'm representing the Green Party, and the Green Party is in 93 countries, and we're not. Say you want a revolution, we'd all like to see a plan. Well, the Green Party has a plan. It's their platform that they've had for 30 years in the United States, and also the Green New Deal. So I would urge you to check those out. If you want to see what Greens look like, if they were running the country, you can look at greenshadowcabinet.us, and you can see who would be heading our Department of Peace, our national health care, and groups like that. But we have always been opposed to warfare. We're not opposed to defense, but what we're doing isn't defense. Right. What we're doing is, we are helping the corporate entities that this represents. We're making our young people die for this. And my father, I'm going to go see him. He's over 90 years old. He may very well die on Veterans Day. He may be the oldest Green in our state, but he's Green, and he was a Purple-Hearted hero. So, anyway, so we should start singing. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I am a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. So anyway, I just urge everybody, if you're serious about peace, join the party that is for peace, strongly for peace. We don't just pretend that we are and do the other thing. And Greens have emerged as the third party in New York. We've strongly emerged. We've made it, and don't believe me, it's not easy to even get on the ballot in states. We have to get sometimes at least 50,000 signatures just to get on the ballot, but we've managed to do it, and we managed to become the third party in a lot of states. So, I mean, there's some hope there. So, anyway, here's the microphone. I urge everybody to not vote, but to vote Green, register Green. You send a message. You send your message where you want that direction going. All right.
Okay, I have the bill number. It's a bill 4608 by the only one in Congress that had a voice to say no to the war authorization for military. Let's see. Oh shoot! It's reversed the 2001 authorization for going to war by the George Bush administration. And it's called WARD Act, and it will take out. It would give 180 days after the date minute of this act that the president shall submit a 60-day. Congress in writing a report setting forth each operation, military operation or other action as being carried out or pursuant to the authorization for the use of military force. That was the 2001 bill that was made into law it was shoved through right after 9/11 on September 18th. And so anyway, there's a petition out there. If you want to get on, it's on change.org, and it's call in support of HR 4608. And now we're going to go into another song. If people got the song, did everybody get Blowing in the Wind? Okay.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it's washed to the sea? Yes, how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, how many times can a man turn his head, pretending he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. And I just want to expand on something somebody brought up, because I don't want to just say it's American lives, because what I was saying, we're making our young people go and fight and kill, and they come back with PTSD because of the lives they've taken, innocent lives that they've been forced to take, tricked into taking, and all lives are valuable. Greens support feeding the homeless. We support that over letting, like Fort Lauderdale just passed a law and they arrested a 90-year-old man for feeding the homeless, and yet they promote overconsumption of alcohol on the beaches, so I mean, our priorities yes, it's spring break, and our priorities in this country are messed up because they're corporate driven, they're overconsumption driven, and that's where the Green Party stands strong, is like common sense and good conscience. Oh yeah, I've been boycotting most of these corporations personally. I think almost all of them. But anyway, I have been doing that, and I've been doing fine. My life's been pretty busy and fulfilled without shopping at Walmart ever anymore since 2000. I haven't been to Mobil or Exxon or Chevron or Shell. I mean, all these corporations, you can still get gas someplace, but, Valero, Citgo, at least you're supporting Venezuela, which has broken away from the corporate rule. And, so whether you agree with Venezuela or not, which I'm a Chavista, but I have to say that that's another situation where the world dominance, the imperial powers are trying to keep South America under their thumb. And the other thing is Trans-Pacific Partnership. I mean, one of the tenets of the Trans-Pacific Partnership is ban U.S. Right now, the U.S. government is supposed to buy like the fleet of cars from the United States. They're supposed to buy from America our homemade goods for whatever they're going to buy, and this TPP will tell them they can't. It'll ban it. Say, no, you'll have to go with a low bidder, which would probably be China. So anyway, so to be really patriotic or matriarchic, which is a good thing, consider registering your values green for peace.
Amen. And I think that since we're half an hour late, we'll do a 2-minute. We'll end this with a 2-minute silence for peace. The first minute is to remember those who died, civilians that died, and then the second minute for those who survived and lived on with their wounds. Okay, starting now. Well, that concludes the ceremonies for Veterans Day, Armistice Day, 2014. And remember, it was 100 years ago, a century ago, that World War I began in August or July. Was it July? June. Late June of 1914. And it's 100 years, and we're still out there slogging at each other. And someday this will all have to stop, and we're in the spearhead of it. And it takes a group of a few dedicated people to change the world, and that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Isn't that the war to end all wars?
That was the war to end all wars.
Yeah. It was just the beginning.
I don't need to.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just wanted to say, if anyone is interested in reading, and if you're not a reader, YouTube will work because a lot of it's recorded. There is an author by the name of Bacevich.
Yeah.
And Andy is a retired Army colonel, graduate of West Point, now a professor at Boston University. He lost his son in the Iraq War, and he's basically telling us, and not enough people are listening, but basically telling us that what we have now is Washington's army, not the army of the people that we knew from World War II.
Yeah. Right.
This is Washington's army, and they do with it as they want. And the most obvious manipulation of our military seems to be by the neocon lobby that wants to keep us in permanent war in the Middle East, mainly probably defending Israel against the Muslims, which is exactly what we're doing now. We're doing it all over again. But we're paying for that with our dollars and with our lives.
And the Gazans and Palestinians, everybody else that is being bombed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So if you get a chance to read, his latest book was Breach of Trust, How Americans Failed Their Military.
How do you spell the last name?
Bacevich, B-A-C-E-V-I-C-H. Bacevich.
He just had an article in the editorial section for the local paper that I read. Seen him on TV, get some attention.
Good.
Waiting for this to begin, I was listening to Diane Rehm, and she had a discussion on today. And they were talking about the military. And one of the people there, I'm not sure who it was, but he was saying if we had had a draft, we probably would not have had an Iraq. We certainly wouldn't be in Afghanistan for 13 years. But what Bacevich, the point he makes is that the army we have now is Washington's, and this really hits home with me after 23 years with the Department of Defense, we misuse and abuse our military. And then the only thing we give them is a bunch of patronage. God bless our troops. Yeah, God bless them for what? They're not defending America. They're doing what they're told, so we have to respect them. But they're not defending us. They're working for somebody else, and it's not America. The Israel Lobby is another book you may want to read by Mearsheimer and Walt. Lots of factual information in there on how the United States is manipulated into defending Israel. If you saw Netanyahu when he visited the U.S. Congress a couple of years ago, he got a 15 standing ovation. 100%.
Why was he in Congress addressing our Congress?
Before we break up, I just want to say a word about my son, Jack, who was killed in Vietnam on July the 2nd, 69. And it's hard for me to talk about it still, but I just want to say this word about it. You know. It seems like I was born 10 years after the first one started, or stopped. I was born at 28. And I don't know, it just seems there's always bad things going on, and I don't understand it, you know. I retired, and since I've retired, I spend about all my time cussing the television, and I don't know, I just leave it into that. I just hate it, and I don't know. I'm running out of time.
I want to make one quick comment too. If you listen to WMNF tomorrow, we're going to start a radio show. Well, hopefully start. We're doing a pilot. It'll be at 11:05 right after the NPR News. But tomorrow at 11:05, it'll be called the Fairness Doctrine. And the Fairness Doctrine was something that we had. If you look it up on Wikipedia, it was something that we had in this country after Franklin Roosevelt was in office, and it disappeared during the Reagan administration. And what the Fairness Doctrine is you have someone that has a point of view, and then the person with the opposite point of view gets an equal time to respond. And that's what the show is going to be about. And we're going to hopefully do more. We'd like to do one. Actually, the next one I'd like to do is Palestine. Should Palestine be put into the UN? And of course, I'm for it, but if I have to be, I can't really, as a host, I can't say anything one way or the other, but people are going to get their chance to speak their mind on these topics in fair ways instead of like Rush Limbaugh, Fox TV, and that type where you don't get the option to hear the other side at all. You just browbeat with the wrong information. This way, people can actually use their brains and make a decision based on what actually seems fair and right. So anyway,
And
I hope you can.
I'm going to listen, definitely.
It's only half an hour too. So.
I just wanted to make a quick announcement for those of you that do not know. Did everybody here see the movie Body of War?
Yes.
Okay, Tomas Young died yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah, he passed yesterday. So Democracy Now!, their show today is supposed to be covering that. But I wanted to let you all know that he finally he's at peace.
Archives,
Yeah, you can see the whole movie Body of War. If you look it up, it's on YouTube in its entirety.
It's really very poignant.
So I cried a little bit last night. I thought, he's finally at peace and he's finally at rest. He was a young man who was shot with shrapnel.
One of the very first days.
One of the very first days of the war. Came home to the world And the documentary documented his way back to the world as a wounded veteran and the different obstacles that he came against. So all I could say is rest in peace.
Yeah. You know, another good thing too is, how about, has everyone seen Oliver Stone's History of the United States? Because that is really something to have a house party and invite people over to watch installments of that, because it's really an eye-opener. It's stuff, some of the things you might have known, but I mean, there's things that I never knew about. I never knew that there was a peace candidate that ran against Truman. So, I mean, there's just Wallace, and his name was Wallace, and Henry Wallace.
Yeah.
So, anyway, there's a lot out there, but share it with people that you know, because it seems like everybody here is aware. So we need to share.
Anyone else? Anyone else want the mic?